Bitcoin versus Ethereum, the battle for DeFi, and also on today's show, we're going to be rating a community member's portfolio. We have news from JP Morgan Chase. What are they doing in the UK? Also, we're going to talk about that, plus much, much more. My name is David. Welcome to Sin City Crypto. If this is your first time checking us out, we are an entertainment-focused cryptocurrency channel where we take boring information, redundant information, we spin it up, throw some icing on it, some sprinkles, and we make it fun, exciting, entertaining, and delicious. And with that being said, I'd like to introduce you to your other host that's joining me today. It is none other than the man. I was going to do a Bruce Buffer intro again, Rocco. You keep rugging me, bro. Boris, how you doing, brother?
Good, good. Hope you're doing well as well.
Thank you, man. I think Rocco's getting jealous of our brotherly friendship here, and every time I go try to juice you up, he always rugs me. So, Forrest, on behalf of Rocco, I sincerely apologize.
It's all good.
Thank you. Guys, before we get into any content, I want to give a couple shout outs. First and foremost to channel sponsor Cam's Blue Wire Technology. Today's 4K stream is brought to you by them. If you own a business and when you maximize your networking, IT, and your cybersecurity, there is one company to go with that'll walk you through everything. Stay on the phone for hours until all your problems are solved, and that is Cam's Blue Wire Technology. Visit bluewiretech.com. Also, big shout out to Radix for sponsoring the channel as well. The top layer 1 DeFi in our space, radically better DeFi. Massive upgrade coming to the mainnet tomorrow. We'll be covering that. Also, if you want to learn more about their ecosystem, what Radix does, how they're changing DeFi, visit radixdlt.com. There is a link in the description of this video. Now, before we get going, I want to give a shout out to Crypto Pitbull, who's been a member for 14 months, and it's his birthday today. So Crypto Pitbull, I normally don't like pitbulls, but I like you, man. Thank you so much for being a channel member for 14 months. That is amazing, and happy birthday to you, my friend. We appreciate it. Also, big shout out to Hefe yesterday, the winner of the 6 months of free cysteine research. And also, apparently, Redman said he bought Forest Research Hub. So that's awesome, Redman. I got a feeling, bro, you might make your money back. Who knows? This is not financial advice. I can't promise anything. But guys, we're excited to be here with you today, and we're excited to show you this video. Time lapse of people trying to survive the first 9 months of 2023. Oh my God. Yeah, we ready, baby? To the moon! Doge on Mars, Dogecoin, ship, let's go! Icy, ship to $1, XRP to 589 bucks. Oh, we're ready, and oh shit, never mind. Well, I'm deleting all my apps, and let me go ahead and check in. And oh my God, it's still down 50%. Oh my God. Boris, are you a fan of roller coasters?
I'm actually not. No, I dislike water slides. Are cool. Water slides are fun, but
Bingo.
Roller coasters, not a big fan. Also live in Georgia, where that dude got his head kicked off when he was going to get his hat.
I used to like roller coasters, and then had a bad experience on one. We got stuck almost upside down in the loop. This is at Six Flags Magic Mountain in California for literally like 3 minutes, and I thought I was gonna die. It was the worst experience of my life, and since that day, I have not went on a roller coaster that's of significant size. But water slides, I will do. I'm with you on that one. Also, we have this. You know, we always talk about, well, can't we all just get along, guys? And this is how bad the market's been. The bears are actually feeling sorry for us. We're getting consolation from the crypto bears. So, guys, if bears and humans can coexist, then so can we. So we're in this together, guys. All right? Don't delete your apps. Also, UK surgeon finds 27 missing contact lenses in a woman's eye, to which someone replied she was seeing in 4K Ultra UHD. Uh,
What kind of news? What is
That's
that?
this
disgusting.
is okay. How is this even possible? And that I thought that was a loaf of bread, like a thing of bread, but it's not bread. Um, yeah. So, anyways,
I miss 27
Wrong.
pair of glasses. If you find it somewhere.
Rocco thinks it's funny. That's good. All right. This was a very, very touching video. This is from Documenting Bitcoin. This was on CNBC. In Lebanon, a local currency has lost more than 95% of its value. Pensions are worthless, banks shut down, and ATMs are out of cash. Bitcoin is helping people survive. This is a 3-minute video. It's really, really good. Let's go ahead and watch this. And I want you guys to understand that for some of us, for some privileged people who don't have to worry about what people in Lebanon or other countries are worrying about, as far as putting food on the table, I know there's some people in the US that do the same. But when you're losing 70, 80% of your value, of your purchasing power month over month, I mean, it sucks to be in those positions. And so while we might be sitting here and we're sitting there thinking our portfolios are down, I've put in 10 grand, it's only at 2 grand. There's people who actually this cryptocurrency, blockchain, and Bitcoin is actually giving them a lifeline. And so let's watch this video.
After decades of war and bad spending decisions by the government, Lebanon's economy is in ruin. I'm speaking.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Let's hope our internet's not going out. Okay.
And bad spending decisions by the government, Lebanon's economy is in ruin. I'm speaking to people who've had their life savings wiped out. There are fuel shortages and power cuts, a local currency that's lost 95% of its value, and crucially, money trapped in the bank. People are literally robbing banks at gunpoint to demand access to their own cash. And because of this, a sort of shadow crypto economy has emerged. So we're talking about locals mining for Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and Litecoin to earn money because they can't find work. Others are getting paid in Bitcoin by finding freelance gigs on Reddit and then treating Bitcoin like their bank because they think it's the safest way to store their savings. I also spoke to multiple people who are arranging meetings in Telegram to swap the stablecoin Tether for actual US dollars, which they then use to buy groceries. Overwhelmingly, what I keep hearing is that people are desperate for a connection to money that actually makes sense, and decentralized digital currencies that are outside the reach of bankers and politicians makes a whole lot more sense than the Lebanese lira right now.
All right, so Mac, let's talk a little bit about some of those crypto mines you mentioned. If there's widespread power cuts and fuel shortages, how does this actually make sense as a way to make money?
So it makes sense because of hydropower. So in certain pockets of the country, like in the Shuf mountain range, which is south of Lebanon, there is abundant and inexpensive electricity being harnessed from the Liktani River. Now, I spoke to Ahmed Abu Dair. He's 22 years old, and he runs an expansive mining network across the country. Now, he has 40 employees working for him. Some of his mining farms are actually running on solar power closer to the Syrian border. And what I find especially compelling about his business model is the fact that he allows people to remotely invest in his operation and then earn a monthly dividend in crypto. And some of his customers are at the opposite end of the country from where these farms are. Some are in Syria, Turkey, and Egypt. It's a really interesting setup.
All right, I know how well-versed you are on crypto. You have a lot of insight on the entire industry, but you're going to have to explain this one. Tether as a form of currency or money. Can you just...
So, obviously, this video is a little older, right? Show 20K Bitcoin. But why are we showing you this today? Myself, Forrest, people watching, we're like, we look at charts like, oh, Bitcoin's been kind of boring. Bitcoin's going sideways. It goes up to 27K, comes back down to 26, down to 25.5, up to 26.2. And we're all sitting here, we're saying, it's kind of boring. I'm showing you this because I want everyone to understand. People always say crypto is a casino. People just use it to gamble. It's gambling. To some people, it's a matter of paying for your groceries or not, paying for your mortgage or not, having a place to live or not. So it's important to keep this in perspective. And although this video is from a few months ago, this is still currently ongoing in Lebanon. So Forrest, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on Bitcoin essentially potentially helping people come out of poverty and hedging against the terrible decisions that people in politics make that could affect the everyday citizen's life?
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the more skeptical side, not on the more skeptical side in terms of like blockchain technology being able to help these people, but I think for me, I see the interim solution before everybody just goes all in on Bitcoin. You have the interim solution of like cross border remittance solutions. So something like XRP or something like Stellar Lumens or something like just being able to leverage a high throughput network to get access to stable coins and have low transaction fees. So, imagine with Stellar Lumens or with XRP, you're able to transact with dollars in Lebanon versus, relying on Bitcoin transactions. Look, it's one of those things where it, it's got potential, but I think the infrastructure, there's always going to be more demand for like the faster, more scalable infrastructure. So not hating on Bitcoin here, but what I am saying is for the day-to-day convenience of transactions that are instant, like you would see with your credit or debit card, your Bitcoin transaction is going to take you 10 minutes on average to confirm. You're looking at modest transaction fees. But if you're, poverty stricken, even a 25-cent transaction fee can be tough. Now, is that alternative? Is the Bitcoin alternative a better alternative than the Turkish lira, or not Turkish, the Lebanese lira, if I'm not mistaken? Their currency debasing 80-90%. Yes, but I'm of the opinion that it's kind of the lesser of two evils. Do we really think that the best solution for these people long term is exposure to an asset that is extremely volatile and does experience 60-70% drawdowns? I personally think there's probably better interim solutions, maybe using the US dollar. As much as I'm, not a huge fiat person, I get it, but right now, like it's probably it is the most dominant currency. I think there's an interim solution, and I think it's an interesting and messy situation all around. I would hate to be in a situation, and look, again, I'm not hating on Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is great for what it is. But I would hate to be in a situation where my fiat currency was, where the US dollar was inflated and losing so much value, which it is losing value, but losing 80-90% of its purchasing power over the course of a few years. And if I had to switch to an asset like Bitcoin that is volatile, that introduces a lot of uncertainty in your day-to-day finances. So I think it's an ugly situation, but it does look like Bitcoin is playing a positive role in being, the lesser of two evils, so to speak, between their fiat system and a somewhat more stable crypto blockchain based system.
Boris, you spoke about, okay, so you brought up the point as far as transactions. What about storing your wealth? What about, I get paid $1,000 and I only need to spend 500 this month, and I want to keep the other 500, I don't know, for emergency fund. Would you still rather save it or hold it in the currency, your homeland currency, or is Bitcoin a better option at that point for storing wealth?
I would say the most ideal thing, realistically, and I know this might be an unpopular opinion in the blockchain, in the crypto community. I personally don't think that Bitcoin is a great store of value. If you look at the price chart, it sees 60-70% drawdowns. It has volatility programmed into the code. I know this is an unpopular opinion, but if you are you look at the drawdown just in the last, from 32K to 26K, that loss in purchasing power in Bitcoin over that period of time, that introduces a lot of uncertainty. What you see people in Japan do is they export the yen and they import U.S. treasuries, right? So they store their value in the U.S. dollar through U.S. treasuries, which makes a lot of sense. Right now in short-term bonds, you can earn 5%. You can technically outpace inflation right now in the U.S. with U.S. treasuries. Now, whether or not long-term that's going to be the best solution, and maybe we move away from the dollar eventually, I would say the best store of value right now. You're trying to outpace inflation. and be in something that's not losing extreme amounts of purchasing power. Is unpopular this answer is in the crypto space. U.S. Treasuries at 5% APY, 5.2, I think, right now on the 2-year, and I think you can get even higher on something like the 3 to 6 month Treasuries.
Forrest, let me ask you a question. Okay, so I can understand, and I'm gonna slightly disagree with you here. I can understand that thesis if you're looking at a 1 to 3 year time frame, right? What if we're 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, 15 years? Do you still feel the same way?
Well, the beautiful part about it is that while rates are so high, you don't have to look 5 to 10 years down the road. If you're trying to make sure that you can pay your groceries next month, right? And let's just say you're somebody you have $50,000 in savings, and that's your net worth, and maybe you lost your job and you're in a situation where you've got to protect against the devaluation of currency, and you want to store your value. You want to make sure that next month comes around, you can pay your groceries, and the month after that, you can pay your groceries, and the month after that, you can pay your groceries. I would not be putting that $50,000 in Bitcoin. No way, no how. I would just never, ever, ever, ever be putting that $50,000 in Bitcoin. If that's what you have to live on for the next 2 years and you lost your job and you're trying to store value, I would say short-term treasury bonds for 5%. Rotate them in 3 to 6 months. That is the most stable thing to be in right now. I don't foresee the dollar. I don't foresee the dollar's undergoing a lot of inflation, but I don't see it undergoing rapid hyperinflation in the next 3 months where it loses 90% of its purchasing value in the next 3 months. I don't see that being the case. Now, 5-10 years down the road, as a speculative instrument, I like Bitcoin, but I think it's very speculative. When you start talking about like store of value of like actually preserving purchasing power in the short term, I think it's incredibly risky for somebody to be putting their entire net worth or their entire emergency savings account into something as volatile as Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, I see both sides of the story. I see the long-term investment potential of Bitcoin. I'm very heavily invested in crypto. But for me, it is a high risk speculative investment. I think very often in the crypto space, Bitcoin is misrepresented as something that is a safety basket. The term store of value gets thrown around, I think, very, very loosely. And I think that lulls people into a false sense of security, and they get caught bag holding a 60-70% drawdown rather than looking at it as a speculative instrument.
Forrest, I think I agree with you that if it's money set aside to pay for emergencies, car repairs, home repairs, food, groceries, I 100% agree with you. You should not put it in Bitcoin. You don't ever want to get in a spot where something, God forbid, happens. You have this little money set aside, an emergency fund, and Bitcoin has been crashing 10, 12% a week, right? You don't want to put yourself in that situation. But when you expand the time horizon to 5+ years, I don't think there's a better asset to store your wealth in than Bitcoin. And I got a feeling, Forrest, and I say this in a very respectful way, I think after the next 2-3 years, I think you're going to change your mind a little bit, because I think we're going to see a lot of, we're literally watching a country, El Salvador, get on the Bitcoin standard and have the highest financial strength that it's ever had, the least amount of crime it's ever had, the most amount of innovation. People are moving there. The tax revenue is growing. So I think it's going to continue to be that way, right? Where have countries and central banks turned to when times of conflict or times of monetary debasement? It's gold. Well, it's easier to store Bitcoin, especially when there's a finite amount that could ever exist, versus going out and buying kilograms and tons of gold, storing it somewhere, risk someone stealing it or whatever the case may be, when you can have that money sit in digital gold, which is Bitcoin. As long as your time horizon is 5+ years, I don't see any way that you can not gain value in terms of Bitcoin if you're saving it there. So it's good to have different points of view, guys. And just because Forrest and I don't agree doesn't mean he's wrong, doesn't mean I'm wrong, doesn't mean he's right, doesn't mean I'm right. It's just our perspective, what we think. And so that is the beauty, is we get to have these conversations. respectfully, of course. And so yeah, what do you guys think? Do you guys agree or do you disagree with the conversation we had? Give us your thoughts in the chat. I'll go through. I'll pick a couple good ones and I'll kind of say them out loud. As you guys are doing that, I do want to move on to this real quick. Minneapolis Fed President Neil Kashkari. This guy is known to flip flop. I actually did some research on this guy. He said, I put a 40% probability on a scenario where the Fed will have to raise rates significantly higher to beat inflation. We saw the month over month increase in the CPI was the highest we've seen over the last year. I believe it was 0.6% month over month. Year over year, we're starting to go back up for 2 consecutive months. A lot of people are saying we're seeing 1970s through 1980s replay again, where we saw inflation peak, come back down. The Fed let its foot off the gas, and then inflation soared again until, of course, Paul Volcker came in and completely destroyed the markets. So do you agree with this, Forrest, with what Fed President Neil Kashkari is they're going to have to raise significantly higher? Or do you think that it's going to get to a point where they're going to have to decide high inflation for longer or completely dismantle the liquidity in the treasuries market and in the amount of interest the government has to pay in debt and the banks and just completely ruin their balance sheets? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I have the opinion that this is completely dependent heavily dependent on oil prices and energy prices. If you go back to why rates were cut so hard back in the COVID crash to begin with, it was the worry of deflation. Everyone was worried of the opposite problem, right? Prices were crashing. There was no demand. Oil futures went negative, right? Everyone was freaking out that prices might drop. So in order to counter deflation, what do? They do the exact opposite of what they're doing right now. They cut rates, right? And then we had this huge bull market, low interest rates for a very long period of time. And then you saw oil do a complete rebound. Went from negative to like over $120 a barrel. Right now, we've recently calmed down. We moved to like the $70 to $80 a barrel region for quite a while, but now we're spiking again. And I personally think that, I think it's pretty objective. I don't even think it's that opinionated because you can put on the charts and see the correlation. Oil prices and energy prices are a leading indicator of inflation rates. So I personally think that the Fed is battling something that is very difficult to battle if you don't have, I guess, fossil fuel friendly energy policies. And you can get into the politics of that, but I think it's just if you want to lower inflation, doing so is going to be much more difficult and probably require much higher rates for longer in the presence of high oil and energy prices. Now, if we were in the presence of $50 a barrel oil, I don't think that people would be very worried. I don't think the Fed would be very worried about inflation going back up and being as entrenched as we are right now. I think a lot of this this latest tick up in inflation and the latest tick up in the worry about inflation is heavily correlated to the increase in oil prices that we're seeing recently. So I think I've been saying this for over a year. I think inflation is just heavily correlated to oil prices, and that's going to end up dictating a lot of the Fed's policy moving forward.
Yeah, guys, and Forrest brought up a word, deflation. You might be wondering, well, why is that a bad thing? Well, Exhibit A, China. Literally, people are hoarding money. They are not spending money, and the economy has essentially come to a standstill, right? They have, I think the number was $3 or $4 trillion that the Chinese citizens just have sitting in their bank. They refuse to spend the money. And so to the Fed and to the governments, that is absolutely worse than inflation. Why do you think they wanted 2% inflation? So I'll leave it at that. I do want to take a quick pause and take a look at our metrics here. Our 61 like metric. We can do better, guys. 126 viewers, only 61 likes. Let's get the likes up. Big shout out to Teresa. Of course, Redman was in studio yesterday. Bully Barry said, hi, David. Hi, Forrest. Hi, Barry. How you doing, my friend? I haven't seen you in here, so welcome if it's your first time. Also, make sure you hit the like button like the like button says. Also, big shout out to Lee's. Said, I've treated Bitcoin and Ethereum as saving account and have been dollar cost averaging every month. You need to stay in the market. If I I didn't stay in, I'd be wrecked. I'm actually up over 300%. Greatest choice ever. I tend to agree. I just think it depends on everyone lives in a different situation, right? If you're living paycheck to paycheck and it's a matter of, let me put some money in Bitcoin versus let me buy some protein to cook at home for my family, I think you're going to go with the latter. But that's just, again, everyone's situation is different. Also, Cash and Crypto, Mike Vollmer, Geronimo, Matthew Barnes. I know you guys are new here, but I'm just kind of going through the list. To all of you guys, hola and welcome. If you're new here, say hello. I know that was a terrible hola, but it is what it is. Guys, we will be rating portfolio today, and I'm just going to give you guys just a sneak peek here. So this portfolio was submitted by one of our community members, Zoombox. And so we're going to be rating this here in a little bit. But first, I do want to go over this from our favorite crypto analysts. Oh, look, it's Sistine Research. Price action dictates sentiment. Here's the historical average performance of Bitcoin and ETH by month. And what stands out to me, guys, here is the only month where both Bitcoin and ETH are negative is September. And then also from Forrest again, bears hibernate in the winter. This is the SPX, the NQ, the Triple Q, and the Dow Jones. Again, the only month where all four are in the red is September. Forrest, what you want to kind of talk us through these tweets you got up here and your thesis on September and maybe expand on it a little bit?
Yeah. So, looking at this one, these are all just the major indexes, right? You see September is usually a really, really bad month. There's a lot of speculation as to why that is. And you can kind of do research that on your own. There's no concrete reason as to why September is historically such a bad month. But then you see October, November, December, and really even into January it's just a strong rebound quarter. A lot of times you've got earnings, you've got the holidays, you've got spending increasing into the holidays. You funnily enough have oil prices declining, energy prices declining usually in the winter months as well. So we're seeing an uptick in oil right now, but which is a concern. But historically, October, November, December are negative months for oil, which would put a lot of my concerns to rest in terms of the inflation situation. But yeah, you can see now everyone's very bearish right now. Go on the timeline. You look at the S&P 500. It's no wonder everyone's bearish. You look at Bitcoin and Ethereum's price action. Everyone's bearish. A lot of times sentiment, the feeling of the market, the emotions of the market, don't necessarily dictate price action. They may to some degree, but a lot of times it's the opposite. The price action dictates how people feel. People think everything's going to continue to go down because they've gone down for the last month. But we historically see a very, very strong rebound in October. And we do see, some correlation between the traditional markets, which what we're looking at right here, and Bitcoin and Ethereum, which is the other chart, which again, you get that summer lull in June, July, August, and September, with September being the worst month. But then historically, and I know some of these averages, we have a smaller sample size of data for Bitcoin and Ethereum than we do for the S&P 500, but there's still some correlation there. And I do understand that a lot of these, averages get pulled up drastically in a bull market year, but we are in a pre-halving year. We are in the worst month of said year. And historically, we would expect a rebound, particularly for Bitcoin. Q4 is Bitcoin season. As you can see, October, November, December, historically really strong months. And then Q1 is historically Ethereum season, right? January, February, March, right? October, November, December, Ethereum doesn't really perform well.
Hey, Forrest,
it hasn't been performing well recently here in September. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask you real quick? How many years of data is this in these histograms here?
This is the entirety of data for Bitcoin and Ethereum. The entirety of data for Ethereum, the entirety of Bitcoin data going back to 2012.
Oh,
it
wow,
is
okay.
difficult to find. It is difficult to find candle data for Bitcoin in 2012. And also, even if you did include that pre-2012 data, because you had kind of like high volatility and the asset was still kind of, exploring price and establishing its presence. It would kind of throw off the averages a little bit. So I think it's best to exclude anything before 2012 anyways. But yeah, I mean, you see pretty clear trend. We'd expect historically, and now anything can be an outlier, right? We could see the trend get bucked, and we could see a terrible Q4 for Bitcoin, and I might even expect a bad Q4 for Bitcoin if we don't get this Bitcoin ETF and we get some of these Mt. Gox distributions and whatnot. But we would expect that we'd get a really solid Q4 for Bitcoin if we do get the Bitcoin ETF, and that could follow through to some speculation on Ethereum in the new year. So, just food for thought. You look at price action recently, July, August, September has been pretty bad for Bitcoin, but that's pretty normal. Nothing out of the ordinary here, to be quite honest.
I do want to share something real quick as far as the traditional market. So we know fiscal year. We know the new year begins January 1st, but for a lot of companies and for the US government, the fiscal year begins October 1st, which might explain why we see negative Septembers, balancing the books, for tax reasons, selling some assets off, taking an L to bring your tax liability down. It could be a lot of things. But it's important to see trends. And so this is what we want to bring you guys. We want to bring you the information. So when you make your investment, you can make it with all the information that you might need. All right, let's move on to my friend Jason Caffrey. He said, morning, guys from Canada. Good morning, Jason. How you doing, my friend? Also, I saw someone else new in here that I haven't seen. Maybe they'll pop up and say something else as well. But today's market segment is brought to you by channel sponsor iTrust Capital. If you want to hodl your Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and other altcoins, and you want to enjoy those gains tax-free in retirement, there is one company to go with, we believe, and that is iTrust Capital, the largest self-directed crypto IRA company out there. If you set up a Roth IRA, and if you use the link in the description of our video, you will receive a free $100 once you fund your account. So with that being said, let's take a look at where the cryptocurrency markets are. According to CoinMarketCap, we are at $1.04 trillion with 24-hour volume down 18%. Bitcoin pretty flat on the hour and 24-hour, down 3.7% over the last week, coming in at $26,151. Now, Forrest, we have looked at Bitcoin the last, pretty much every time you've been here. We haven't really looked at ETH. ETH is under $1,600. Is there a price for Ethereum? Like for me, for example, anything under $10 for Chainlink for me is a good entry. Do you have a number in your head for Ethereum? And then maybe if you want to talk us through that on the Ethereum chart, what is it doing? What's the structure look like on ETH?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share my screen here. We'll go to the Ethereum chart, and you can see it's a little bit messy with all these lines I've got put in here. But one important line to keep in mind and level to keep in mind is the prior all-time high of 1440, which has been a big support level and a big level of contention for us. We do see that we are kind of just chopping through this logarithmic trend line here for ETH. Which is not what you want to see. ETH is actually in a tricky spot right now because you see we have a ton of support. If I zoom in here, we're on the 3-day chart. We have a ton of support, a cluster of support here around 1600, right? We also have this logarithmic trend line coming up, right? And you can see how much support this actually was. We bounced off of this multiple times, right? We kept closing candles above this, but now all of a sudden we're starting to close 3-day candles below this chunk of resistance or what was prior support and turning it into resistance. We're also closing candles below this trend line. What we want to see here is a reclaim of this trend line. If Ethereum is going to go back up, we want to see a reclaim, and we want to start closing candles back up above 1620 or so, and head back up towards 1700. If not, we've just got a lot of room to potentially free fall all the way back down to our 2x short margin pressure level, which is also our prior all-time high in the 2018 peak of Ethereum, which was around 1440. So for me, the level that is worth really bidding for Ethereum here is 1440. Wait for the prior all-time high. I don't know if we'll get that. It really just depends. I think with this Bitcoin ETF coming through, we end up seeing the crypto market get propped up all the way through October 16th. I think that technical analysis is always very helpful, but to some degree right now, it is less useful in the interim before we see the Bitcoin ETF decision. And what I mean by that is you just have this massive news event that is very likely to spark a lot of volatility in either direction. So, bidding before this, you're essentially just, betting on a Bitcoin ETF being approved if you're a buyer. And if you're a seller here, you're betting on the ETF being declined or delayed. I do feel strongly that the price action for Bitcoin and Ethereum will react heavily towards to that decision on October 16th. So as far as levels go, I mean, we're looking at the 3-day here. There's just not a lot to be said aside from the fact that, look, this is not in a great spot. We could absolutely bleed down, but I don't necessarily think that we bleed down so aggressively until after this October 16th decision. I think the market, it just doesn't know whether or not to price in a Bitcoin ETF, and it's waiting. Once we get through that, technical analysis, I think, is going to be much more helpful. We'll have like a big chunk of resistance up here to get through if we get a Bitcoin delay, a Bitcoin ETF delay. If we get a approval, if we get a Bitcoin ETF delay, then we're looking at 1430, 1440, potentially looking at 1322 again. But these levels will become much more relevant post October 16th, in my opinion, as opposed to right now going into it. But in the short term, if we're going to see a pump, if we're going to see a speculative pump, I want to see a reclaim of 1620 or so. Until then, I'm not super comfortable bidding ETH.
Awesome. I want to swap over to the crypto bubbles here real quick. And so just taking a look at what some of the top 100 altcoins doing. Radix is up 4.2% for us. I know this was something that you sent out in your research hub a couple days before we saw the big pump from Radix. So again, if you were a Sistine Research member, you would have gotten that email, and maybe you could have made some money on it. MakerDAO up 8.1%. Optimism up 2.2%. Some of the losers, we have FTT for God knows why. Why is this even in the top 100 still? Still has a market cap of 380
That's because
million.
I believe Coinbase is bidding on their Europe division, if I'm not mistaken.
For the FT. Okay, yeah. But I
think Coinbase is trying to acquire their European business of some sort. That's maybe just a headline I read. So I think
No, you're right. You're right. It's just I hate seeing it here. Rollbit down 4.5%. Chainlink down 2.5%. We saw a big move from Chainlink. It is still currently sitting over $7 at $7.26. I am extremely bullish on Chainlink. That has now grown to be one of my biggest bags moving into the next altcoin season or the next crypto bull market. And so again, for me, anything under $10, I do plan on having some Chainlink that I have for the foreseeable future, but a majority of it will be sold either into fiat or into Bitcoin. But that's just my personal investment thesis. And so with that being said, let's get into our newest segment, our Rate My Portfolio. So this was submitted by a community member, Zoombox. Okay. So let me give some context here, guys. And so if you want to submit your portfolio for us to review on the channel and give our 100% honest take, all you got to do is either submit it on the portfolio submission channel in Discord, or if you want to remain anonymous, you can email it to me or you can DM us on Twitter and just let us know what is the goal of your portfolio. Just like this, we don't even need to know the value amount, just percentages. And just tell us what you want to do your portfolio. And if we pick yours, we'll rate it live on air. So this is something cool we're trying to do. Now, for this person, their goal for this portfolio is to 5 to 10x during the next bull market, okay? 5 to 10x. So we have 35.61% in Bitcoin, 28.5% in ETH, 4% in Chainlink, 3.81% in Matic, 3.15% in Arbitrum, 3% in ICP, 2.8% in Quant, and there's around 20% in other, which includes, I have it written down here, in this order, Hedera Hashgraph, Arweave, Cosmos, Dogecoin, Rollbit, Star Atlas, UFO, and Zen. So, Forrest, I'll throw this to you first. Their goal is to 5 to 10x in the next bull market. What are your thoughts on this portfolio? What do you like? What don't you like? And give it a rating of 1 through 10, 1 being the absolute worst, 10 being absolutely perfect. You guys in the chat, as we're doing this, we want your opinions as well. We want you to rate this portfolio as well. And so, Forrest, I'll send it to you first.
Yeah, so I mean, Bitcoin and ETH, that's fine. I mean, I don't see anything wrong. Bitcoin exposure is slightly larger than ETH. For me, that would be slightly flipped. Doesn't really matter. I think Bitcoin and ETH are super correlated assets. You're gonna, see similar returns on both of those, more than likely. Link, I like being your third largest, but then for me, it drops off. I'm becoming increasing in. I'm a fan of Matic. I think they have really, really strong biz dev, but I think they are in a very increasingly competitive space being a layer 2 for Ethereum. So I am bullish on Matic. I do think they'll perform well, but I do think there's some additional risk there over being in just the layer 1 Ethereum or Chainlink. So same thing goes for Arbitrum, where you have some of some inflationary tokenomics, a lot of unlocks. And then from there on, I do like QNT a lot. I'm personally not holding any QNT right now, but I do think it's set to perform really well, especially if we see a CBDC narrative. I think 2.8% is fine. I think a couple percent in QNT is fine. That 18.87% spread across other, that tells me that if the only thing that's registering, above that 18.87% is 2.8%, that means that 18.87% is spread really thin, like 1 to 2% across a bunch of different things. For me, if I was going to, again, not financial advice, of course, but I would probably scrape everything from Matic all downwards and consolidate into a few more concentrated bets. So for me, that would look like Solana, QNT, and Chainlink. So basically, and Matic could be one of those for you. It's just Matic for me is just right. It's on the edge. I just like QNT and Solana and Chainlink a little bit more. That's significantly more than I like Matic. I don't think Matic's going to perform horribly. I don't think it's going to disappear. I think they've got great biz dev, and I think it'll perform. So Matic might be one of those concentrated bets for you, but I would concentrate this portfolio a little bit more. So for me, you could keep the Bitcoin ETH stuff the same. And then for me, I would scrape any Matic, Arbitrum, ICP, and everything below. I would, cut it all and then take whatever money is whatever money you get from that. And I would concentrate it into what you have. So you've got 55, 50, roughly 60%. So I'd spread the non-Bitcoin and ETH holdings pretty evenly between Chainlink, Solana, and QNT. Personally, not a huge fan of ICP. I know some people have a thesis there. I just don't see them gaining a bunch of users. I just think you might be a little spread thin here. Chainlink, Solana, QNT, I think would be 3 really solid concentrated bets to focus on outside of Bitcoin, Ethereum. Not financial advice. Rating wise, I mean, it's tough to throw a number on it. 4 or 5. I don't see anything in here that's just like, ICP and Arbitrum, I'm just not a big fan of. I get the thesis on Arbitrum. I get it. I know there are some people that are bullish on it, and I understand that there's a thesis there. I just think it's very inflationary. ICP has proven nothing to me so far. It's been a down only chart forever. I'd say a 4, but there's nothing here that's like horrendously alarming. I think some of the stuff that was in other, I didn't Star Atlas, I wouldn't be in that personally. I give it a 4. I think this just needs to be concentrated into whatever you choose to be 3 other solid bets. For me, that would be Chainlink, Solana, and QNT. For you, it might be Matic, Chainlink, and something else.
Yeah. I actually think for what his goal is, that this is an excellent portfolio. right? If your only goal is 5 to 10x, Bitcoin, definitely going to 5x, most likely going to 10x. Ethereum, definitely going to 5x, most likely going to 10x. And you're talking about the two top cryptocurrencies. It's like investing in two blue chip stocks, Coca-Cola and Microsoft. And hey, I only want a 5 to 10x in the next bull run, and I'm out. Perfect. For me, this portfolio is an 8. Of course, love Chainlink, 10x, $70, last all-time high, $55. To me, no problem. I think Chainlink will double that. I think Chainlink will 20x or potentially more. Polygon Matic, a 10x for 50 cents, $5. Definitely think that's possible as well. I'm kind of with you here. Arbitrum, I'm just like, Solana, Algorand. I know he's got Hedera in here. He's got Arweave in there. I think Arweave is great. I think you should. I think it's a very well-balanced portfolio. Pretty ETH heavy still. But again, like you mentioned, Solana, I love to see some Algorand in there. I think Algorand at 9 cents, just to 10x, it's still going to be 60, 70% off its all-time high. Just 10x would be 90 cents, would be $1. And we saw Algorand have a all-time high of $3.56 in the last market cycle. ICP, that to me is a little more speculative. Love the QNT in there. And as far as Hedera, Arweave, Cosmos, Doge, really like those. Rollbit, not a fan. Star Atlas, have no clue. UFO, I know is gaming. And Zen, I know a lot of people are bullish on Zen. I'm iffy about it. For me, I'd get rid of Arbitrum. I'd get rid of ICP. I'd throw another layer one in there like Solana, like Algorand. I think I'd maybe bump up the Cosmos a little bit. And again, I'm looking at, okay, you want to just 10x, right? I think this portfolio is great. I would even feel comfortable moving more of the money into something like Ethereum or Bitcoin. But this is, to me, more of a conservative portfolio, which is going to serve this user pretty well if their only goal is to 5 to 10x. And I agree with Forrest. Get rid of Arbitrum, get rid of ICP, maybe bump up HBAR, bump up Arweave, throw some Algorand, throw some Solana in there. And so those are kind of my thoughts. Any pushback you have for us on anything I said? The only thing I push back on you is the rating. I don't think this is a 4. I think if they said, hey, I want a 20 to 50x, I want to grow from 10 grand to 300 grand, I would say you're not taking enough risk. But obviously, if you only want a 5 to 10x in a market that's known to have coins that 100x, I think this is pretty solid. Don't really see any DeFi in there, right? Any?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I might have been a little bit harsh. Yeah, I might have been a little bit harsh with the 4. For me, it's just that's that 18.87% down there in other, coupled with, ICP could just be like a crazy runner because it's never gone into price expiration. It's been down only. Maybe I'm wrong on ICP, and I'm not in love with the ARB. To me, I feel like there's about 20% of this portfolio that could really be reallocated and better allocated and really put to work. I feel like 80% of this portfolio looks good, and if you're patient and you wait for the meat of the bull run to come around to sell and take profits here, 5 to 10x is completely realistic with this portfolio. So maybe 4 is a little bit harsh. I would clean up. I think this portfolio just needs to be cleaned up a little bit, consolidated, concentrated on a few things that you really, really believe in. Like, ask yourself, do you really, really believe in UFO and Star Atlas? Like, do you really think those are going to be the 50x's or the 5 to 10x's? Or do you want to, concentrate into something like Chainlink, where you feel really, really comfortable getting closer to that 5 to 10x returns in a bull market?
Yeah. All right. So we do have a poll up. What would you keep? An overwhelming amount of you would keep Polygon Matic out of Matic, Arbitrum, ICP, and Quant. Let's go take a look here real quick and see what people are rating. And so let me just scroll up here a little bit, guys. Let's see. So I gave it an 8. Forrest gave it a 4, but he admitted he might have been a little harsh on him. But hey, to each their own. French Toast said 9.2. What else we got here? For sure, Robert said for sure 5 to 10x. French Toast said, nah, would put ADA in 3 largest bag. ADA might not be bad either. Even a 10X would only get it to $2.50, which is still less than an all-time high of over $3 or just under $3. Let's see what else. Any you guys didn't really put any numbers in there. Guys, you gotta follow direction here, damn it. I said, give us a number. Rate the portfolio. Let us know. Cash and Crypto said a 7. Again, so Zoombox, not a bad portfolio, my friend. I like it. If your only goal is a 5 to 10X, you're obviously being pretty conservative. I think having 60% of your allocation to Bitcoin and ETH is a great move. You can even bump that up to 70, 75%. In my opinion, Bitcoin is a minimum 5 to 8X, 10X more likely. So right around 200 grand. And so, yeah, that's our new segment, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. And thank you to all of you that submitted. If you want to submit your portfolio, join our Discord. You'll learn how to do it there. Or if you want to remain anonymous, DM Crypto Billy or DM myself on Twitter or send me an email, david@sincitycrypto.io. Now, let's move on to some of our biggest news. Bitcoin.
Can I say one last thing on that?
First, please. Yeah.
The one last thing I'd say is, look, if your goal is to 5 to 10X, and you set your price targets for, let's say you think Bitcoin's going to go, let's say Bitcoin's at 26K, you think it's going to go to 5X to like 125K, right? Your price targets for these cryptocurrencies assume that you're going to be able to sell those at the top, right? So if you realistically want to you want to actually realize those gains. You want to, let's say you got 50K in this portfolio and you want to get to 500K and actually realize those gains. That's a 10X. That assumes that once this portfolio is worth 500K or once these hit their price targets, you are going to sell everything and get out of the market completely. That is very, very, very difficult to do, both in practice and in, I don't know what the other way to put that would be, but it's very difficult to do, right? So if you want to actually realize 5 to 10X gains, you're probably going to want to set up a portfolio that has the potential for 12 to 15X realistically, because you're not going to be able to sell the top on everything. Not every single one of those tokens is going to hit the targets that you think it will. So you may, if your goal is 5 to 10X, bump it up, because when it actually comes to the practical taking of profits and pulling US dollars or fiat currency out of the market, we all like to think that we're going to be able to sell the top of each of these tokens perfectly, but in practice, it's much more difficult. So a 5 to 10X portfolio, you have that 15X in mind. Just a little note there for people.
I agree, because some things might not 5 to 10X. Who knows? Something might happen, or who knows, right? No one's a fortune teller. I do want to move on to this piece of news. The big battle, apparently, Bitcoin is coming for ETH and DeFi. So this is from B in Crypto. How Bitcoin interoperability can threaten Ethereum's DeFi dominance. Blockchain technology is being stirred by a new interest in making different chains work together, aka interoperability, especially regarding Bitcoin. Until recently, Ethereum had been stealing the spotlight due to its flexible smart contract capabilities that fostered the blossoming DeFi sector. The growing allure of interoperability with Bitcoin is clear because it is seen as the behemoth of market value and stability in the crypto industry, and need I mention liquidity as well. Ramani Ramachandran, CEO of Router Protocol, told Being Crypto that the shift towards fostering interoperability with Bitcoin, especially with advancing layer 2 solutions, illustrates the widespread desire for a more connected blockchain ecosystem. He said, quote, Bitcoin's role could evolve significantly with interoperability. It would enable Bitcoin to directly engage in DeFi, offering liquidity and collateral options. Smart contracts could work across several chains, allowing financial transactions and cross-chain collaborations. So I'm going to stop there. Forrest, is it even a realm of possibility in your mind that Bitcoin could potentially supplant or give Ethereum DeFi a run for their money?
Is it in the realm of possibility? Yes. I mean, you do have layer 2s like Stacks. I think if you want some extra beta, some extra risk on Bitcoin, and you want to bet on, DeFi and, kind of some layer 2s and scalability solutions for the Bitcoin network, Stacks is a really good option. But the more research I do on blockchain, like the throughput of blockchains, a lot of these, when real demand comes in for DeFi, and people are doing large amounts of transactions and rebalancing all the time. Even some of these layer 2 solutions built on Ethereum come up short and have problems, right? Again, like 25-cent transaction fee spikes on Optimism just are unacceptable at scale. So in the short term, yeah, I think we could get a push for this, a narrative around this. You could see stacks really, really blow up in the next couple of years. But if we're looking down the line, I think, I don't foresee. There's a reason that Visa is not looking at Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network, or stacks or Bitcoin layer 2s to execute high, just payment processing. So when it comes to at DeFi at scale, I just think the high throughput blockchains, whether that's Solana, whether that's Hedera Hashgraph, whether that's Celestia, whatever, another one, high throughput blockchain, I just think that we're going to see the high throughput blockchains dominate over the long term, and maybe we see some sort of narratives forming around Bitcoin. And I know it seems like I'm just a Bitcoin bear. No, I think the narrative that's getting adopted right now, and I'm actually kind of bullish on Bitcoin, especially going to this Bitcoin ETF, and the traditional finance instruments that are going to be built around Bitcoin are very bullish. I think that Bitcoin's narrative is being a low velocity store of value. And I'll contest the store of value thing here and there, but I think that's the narrative that gets adopted by traditional finance. I don't think that DeFi at scale is the narrative that really gets adopted mainstream for Bitcoin. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I think you'll see DeFi live on Ethereum, Solana, and some other higher throughput chains.
Yeah, I definitely don't think on the layer 1 this is possible. Just taking a real quick look here at here. I mean, you can tell this is from blockchain.com. We're at over 100% of the block being completely full. And we know there's close to 400,000 transactions that are still stuck in the mempool that have not been validated yet. And so I don't think it's possible. People have brought up the idea of increasing the block size. I think that would be a terrible idea. It would make Bitcoin more centralized, as not many people would be able to foster or have that on their PC to run a node. Going from 4 to 6 or even 8 megabytes, I think is going to harm decentralization. So I don't think on the layer 1 it's possible, but via a layer 2, like stacks, like ICP, like maybe a new company or new project that launches, I definitely think it's possible. Forrest, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much again for joining us, brother. We look forward to having you back on tomorrow. Anything you want to say to the community before you step off?
No, I got to run here. I have somewhere I have to be, and I appreciate you having me on. It's always a pleasure. I'll be back on throughout the rest of the week. Looking forward to it. Otherwise, guys, just remember, look, September is historically a bad month. We can't predict the future. I can't predict the future, but sentiment or price oftentimes drives sentiment. So, you feel down in the dumps, feel, like the price action slipping a little bit, just pay attention to those historical numbers and historical trends, and maybe they can lead you towards being biased in the right direction. Otherwise, David, it's always a pleasure being on here. Sin City Crypto is definitely something special. And if I'm bullish on anything in the next couple of years, it is Sin City Crypto. So glad to be a regular guest here. So
we love having you on, brother. Thank you so much. Great advice, great information, great knowledge for us. We look forward to having you on again tomorrow, brother. Have a great meeting. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you guys.
All right, guys. There is one more thing I want to talk about, and that is this big hire by Ripple. Ripple taps former Obama White House official to head U.S. public policy. Source from The Block. Lauren Belive, who at one time worked at the White House under President Barack Obama, joined Ripple as the head of U.S. public policy and government. She said, quote, I think it's a lady, right? Lauren, Lauren could be a man's name as well. But Lauren said, my role will be to lead our engagement in Washington and nationally, ensuring that we are not only part of the conversation, but driving it forward with clarity and purpose. Oh, it is a lady. She continued, with regulatory landscapes evolving, it's paramount that we advocate for policies that not only support the crypto industry, but also the countless individuals and businesses that could benefit from these advancements. Lauren was most recently Director of Government Affairs at SoftBank Group. And before that, she was head of U.S. government relations at Zoom. She started her career at the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, which was then chaired by Representative Henry Waxman of California. So this is someone who is in with the Democrat Party, and I'm not saying this to make it a political thing, but it's pretty safe to say there are a lot more crypto detractors, or that are at least more outspoken on the left side of the aisle than there are on the right side of the aisle. And I think this is a big hire for Ripple. One, obviously, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And this person, Miss Believe, Miss Belive, or however you say her last name, she knows people in Washington. So this might be a direct path, open a direct line of communication with important people at important places. Could this help Ripple in their SEC lawsuit? I don't know. But will this help Ripple and the crypto industry as a whole? Maybe be able to get their foot in the door, maybe to be able to get some meetings, maybe be able to get the airtime, to get the face-to-face time with people that matter, that are making rules and regulations, that are going to be voting on certain bills, and that are going to be creating certain bills. I do think so. So to me, this is a net positive. We see this happen all the time, where people who leave government positions go into the private sector. And I like seeing the fact that some of those people are coming into our industry. I don't think it's going to be anything negative, but saying it's, oh my God, now Ripple's going to win, and oh my God, no, I don't think that's the right case either. Guys, if you are going to be in Vegas this weekend, come join us at NFT XLV. If you use the code OLA, you will receive a discount on their website, nftxlv.com. We have a booth there. We will be there all 3 days. So we're excited. Also, a big shout out to Crunk C, who we got their information. So you're going to have your premium pass waiting at Will Call, my friend. We look forward to meeting you. Also, guys, go check out our social media. We're on Twitter at Sin City Crypto 1. If you want to support the channel, there's plenty of ways to do so. Speaking of supporting the channel, I want to give a couple more shout outs to Cam's Blue Wire Technology. If you want more information on how they can help your business, visit bluewiretech.com. Also, big thank you to Radix, another sponsor of the channel, Radically Better DeFi. We'll be covering their big mainnet upgrade tomorrow. Also, guys, go check out our merch store at inandoutcrypto.com, where you'll not only find Sin City Crypto merch, but other merch as well. Rocco, you got anything else before?
Yeah, want to finish the poll? Everybody,
yeah, Matic won.
Matic and Quant. So
yeah,
that's right.
Matic and QNT, 52%, 35%. Yeah, I'm a big fan of both, and so yeah. All right, guys. With that being said, Rocco. I like how you waited. Good job, man. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It was an amazing show. Tomorrow is going to be an even greater show. We look forward to having you back. Thank you so much for tuning in. On behalf of all of us here at Sin City Crypto, we love you. Tomorrow. Peace.
Everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in. For big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Name the coin, it's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy the dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming, hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO